So on February 8th, there will be a fight between Prajanchai versus Barboza on One Fight Night 28. Prajanchai has beaten basically everyone within his strawweight division in kickboxing and Muay Thai, and he is the two-time champion. The only person he has not beaten or defended his belts against yet is the likes of Ellis Badir Barboza, who is coming out of the UK and is on a hot run within the One Championship Muay Thai division. Also on this card, we see the likes of Nong-o fighting. We've also got up-and-comers on this card and BJJ legends also coming into the One Championship to put on a show. Fight 1, we'll see Aliff Japan taking on Shamil Adukhov. This fight is a last-minute fight, as Fong Poon was supposed to be fighting Aliff, and I thought it was going to be a much better matchup, because they were both very high-level Muay Thai fighters from around the same division and have a lot of experience. I don't know enough about Shamil Adukhov to give a good reason why I think he's going to win this fight. All I know is his height, where he's from, and his age. His record, I've tried to research him. I've seen someone with the same name being 2-1 in MMA. I don't know if it's the same person or not, so I can't give an accurate reason on why I think Adukhov will win. If he does, I think it'll be a massive upset, but I do think Aliff Japan will get the victory here. He's a very tall fighter for the division, right? And even though he is younger than his counterpart Adukhov, he has, I'm sure, a lot more experience, with Japan having nearly 60 fights, if not over 60 fights in Muay Thai already at the age of 20. His record within one is 6-2. He's looked very good in recent times. This is what I mean. So I thought Fong Poon had a similar style to Zakaria El Jamari. We managed to put down in round 1 halfway through it. And I think he would have done the same to Fong Poon, not in round 1, but I think round 2, round 3, I think he would have got the job done. He also, it's a loss, but he also took Ellis Badir Barboza to a split decision. And that's a very good result. Barboza is a very good fighter coming out of the UK, and he's probably one of UK's biggest prospects when it comes to Muay Thai. So it's not a bad fight to go for a split decision. So it could have went either way, and you don't see many split decisions within one championship. A lot of it, the judges agree, and it's a unanimous decision. Other than that, he went 4-0 in his first year with one. Last year he went 2-2. This year he's going to start the year off very good, and I'm going to give him the victory over Shamil Adukhov. I do think he gets it done. I think he's more of a complete striker. From what I've seen, he's a very fluid striker. He moves around a lot as well. And I just don't think Shamil Adukhov, because I don't know anything about him, can't give a reason on why he would beat Aliff Japan. So, Gabriel Sousa will be taking on Gianni Grippo in a featherweight BJJ match, in our only BJJ match of the evening. Gabriel Sousa made his one debut last year, and he was fighting against Mikey Musumeci in last June. Right. Gabriel Sousa is 5'3", he's 28. Gianni Grippo, I know, he's 5'9", and he's 31 or 32. He's making his debut against Sousa this Saturday. So Gabriel Sousa has 133 wins to 40 losses within BJJ competitions, with 42 submission wins and 13 submission losses. Comparing that to Gianni Grippo, who has 263 wins and 76 losses, 90 wins by submission, and only 8 losses by submission. I think this fight is pretty clear how it's going to go. I do think Gianni Grippo is going to be able to get the submission win over Gabriel Sousa. Right, not only that, I just don't think Gabriel Sousa is going to be able to do a whole lot against Gianni Grippo. I think the fact he's had over 350 fights and he's only ever been submitted 8 times, right? He's a very dangerous BJJ athlete, and I did know he does train for Marcelo Garcia, or he did train with Marcelo Garcia for a long time, who also made his one debut last month and won against oh god, his name's completely went out. Imanari, yeah, Mizukazu Imanari. So it could be a very good year for the Marcelo Garcia Academy at the moment. So I am going to pick Gianni Grippo to get the victory, and I think he's going to be able to do it by submission. So in fight 3, we'll be seeing Carlo Bumina-ang versus Song Min Jong in a bantamweight MMA fight. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I think Carlo Bumina-ang wins. The reasons, right? One, he's being active, right? He's had 6 fights in the last 2 years. He's won 5, lost 1, and the lost came against Pacatiw, who I think is next in line for the belt, right? He's a very big fighter, so it's not a bad fighter to sit there and lose against. But you've got to realise he went on a 5 winning streak within the MMA, which is a lot harder than people want to credit, right? Whereas Song Min Jong hasn't had a fight since 2022, and it was the start of 2022, and before that, it was 2021 was his last fight. My problem is I hate it when fighters aren't active. Song Min Jong is the taller fighter, and if I'm correct, he's also the older fighter. But I just think Carla Bumina-ang is very good on the ground. He's a very good submission artist. I think he's going to take him down. I think he's going to ground and pound him, and then get the submission. I just think I don't think Song Min Jong is going to have an answer for Carlo Bumina-ang's grappling personally. So I do see Carlo Bumina-ang getting the victory on this one. So fight 4 sees Jeremy the Jaguar Miado versus Gilbert Nakatani. Now, do you know if this was if this was UFC, I would be picking Gilbert Nakatani so quickly, right? Jeremy Miado, within one championship, is 6-8. Yes, he has fought some very good competition, but he is 6-8 within the one championship. Right, he has also been fighting in it since 2017, so nearly 8 years he's been fighting within one championship, and he's lost 2 by TKO, 2 by submission, 2 by unanimous decision, and 2 by split decision. Right, his 6 wins have came by knockout. He's a very powerful fighter, and he is taller than his counterpart Gilbert Nakatani, who was only 5'4". Right, Gilbert Nakatani has only had one fight within one championship where he lost at the end of last year. Why I would be all over Gilbert Nakatani is his overall record is 8-2, whereas Jeremy Miado's, if I'm correct, is 10-8. So he went 4-0 before the UFC, before the one championship, came 2-1, and now he's 6-8. I don't know where I'm sitting with this decision. Right, if I'm being honest, I am still going to take Gilbert Nakatani to get the victory over Jeremy the Jaguar Miado. I understand one championship is full of fighters who are world class, but you can't be losing 8 fights. And he's lost 4 in a row. He hasn't won a fight for nearly 3 years. He hasn't won a fight for. I can't give him the victory or him the edge over Gilbert Nakatani if you haven't won a fight for 4 years. That's my problem with it. So I'm going to go Gilbert Nakatani. I'm going to go by decision. So fight 5 is going to be seeing Felipe Lobo versus Saemapetch. This is a rematch, and it's bantamweight Muay Thai. So the first fight, Felipe Lobo did get the upper hand of Saemapetch, knocking him out in round 3. It was a massive upset, personally. I thought Saemapetch was going to win the fight. It was a massive upset. Lobo has went 3-3 within the one championship, losing to Nong-o, Jonathan Haggerty, and Nabil-Anani. And you know what? That is not 3 bad people to lose to. But you'd be wanting to win, wouldn't you? That's the problem. Jonathan Haggerty knocked him out lovely. Nong-o knocked him out. Nabil-Anani won by decision. I don't know who's going to win this fight. It's a very close fight. Saemapetch, right, 9-6. He's lost to Nong-o. He's lost to Prajanchai. He's lost to Lobo, Nico Carrillo. So he's had his fair losses within one championship. I think, if I'm correct, Felipe Lobo has won around 22 fights in Muay Thai. And Saemapetch has won 127. If I am correct with that statistic, I'm pretty sure Saemapetch has won over 100. I'm pretty sure it is around that 130 mark. It's one of them. I don't know who's going to win this fight. It's a very close fight. It's one of the fights on this card that I thought was going to be the most closest one. And I think I am going to give it Saemapetch. I think he gets it done. I think he should have got it done in the first fight, is the thing. So I think he's going to come back and he's going to avenge his loss. Just like he did when he was against, what was his name? Mohamed Younes Rabah. Right, I think he's going to come back and he's going to avenge the loss. Right, I do think he is. And I mean, if you look at it, his last 5 fights have ended in knockouts and in TKOs. Yes, he had 2 to 3 in his last 5, so he has been knocked out 3 times. But Lobo's in there. I think he beats Lobo. I think it's going to be very close, but I think Saemapetch is going to get the job done, and I think he's going to be able to catch him. So fight 6 will see Jeremy Pacatiw versus Ibrahim Dauev in a bantamweight MMA fight. So Ibrahim Dauev, he's 5'10" from Russia and 24 years old. He won his first fight in his debut fight at the start of last year against Mark Abelardo in an MMA fight, unanimous decision. Whereas Jeremy the Juggernaut Pacatiw, he has went 3-1 within one, having around 1 fight every year. So this one is also a very close one, where the reason is I do quite like Jeremy the Juggernaut Pacatiw. He fights usually, he has like a Sander style, right? He's very good at kickboxing. He competed for Philippines for kickboxing. But he's also very good on the ground with 2 of his wins. 2 out of the 3 wins in one coming by submission. So he's also very good on the ground. I think he has got what it takes to finish a fight. But Ibrahim Dauev, like I've said before, I don't like picking against Russians when it comes to MMA. I don't like picking against, Thai fighters in Muay Thai. I don't like picking against Burmese fighters in Thai. And I don't like picking against Filipino fighters in Thai. But the same could be said for MMA. I don't like picking against Russian fighters because nowadays they just seem to get the job done. But saying that, who is the bloody Kazakhstani who did lose like the other week? Oh, I'm going to go Jeremy Pacatiw to win this fight. I am. He has more experience. I think he's going to be better on the feet. And I think he's also going to be better on the ground. He has lost to the champion, Fabricio Andrade. And I'm sure he's going to be able to get that win. Or I'm sure he's going to be able to get a rematch eventually. But he has to stay active. He can't win a fight in 2021, lose one, then win one in 2022, then take the whole of the year of 2023 off. He has to stay active personally. So if he wins this fight, perfect. But I'd be trying to book him on before the year ends again. Right, not even that far. Yeah, he has to fight 2 to 3 times a year if he wants a title fight personally. But I do think Pacatow's going to get the win here. So, fight 7, we'll see Adiwang versus Yamakita from strawweight MMA. So, Yamakita has went 3-1 within the one championship so far, right? Winning 2 fights by decision and 1 by submission, even beating Jeremy the Jaguar Miado, right? He has looked good. Last year he went 2-1. He did lose to Bokang Masuani or Masunyani. Right. My problem is a lot of his fights don't end early. Right. He ended one early fight by submission. Other than that, it goes the distance. And I think if he's going to win this fight, I think it's going to be the exact same thing. I think if he wins, it's by decision. But I don't think he wins. I think Adiwang is going to get his hand raised at the end of this fight. He is 9-3 within the one championship, fighting all the way from 2019. Right, there is a big difference with how many fights an MMA fighter can have compared to how like a Thai fighter can have, for example, within the one championship. You don't get as many fights if you're an MMA fighter. But I mean, he has done very well. He lost to Jeremy Miado in 2022. He avenged it in the end of 2023. He has lost to Jared Brooks, where it's not a bad loss since Jared Brooks is fighting for the title as he is the interim champion. Overall, I am going to go with Adiwang to get the job done. I think he is a better striker than Pocket Monk, right, Yamakita. And I think he's also going to be better on the ground as well. I just don't see a way Yamakita is going to be able to beat him. That's my problem. He hasn't looked amazing since joining one. He hasn't done a whole lot, right? Other than that Jeremy Miado win, he's just about done enough to win his fights, other than the one he didn't. I don't think he poses too much of a threat to the Thunder Kid personally. So I'm going to go Adiwang to get the fight won, get the fight in his favour, his hand raised. So fight 8, we'll see Sean Climaco versus Diego Paez, who is one of the new signings One Championship have made this year. So Diego Paez has not had a fight within One Championship just yet, but he is 7-2 within Muay Thai outside of One Championship. Sean Climaco is 1-1 within one so far, losing to Johannes Stupinian in a Muay Thai bout in 2024 in September. Outside of one, he is also 11-3 in Muay Thai. Right, both are very well. I can't even say both. I've never seen Diego Paez fight yet. Climaco is a very good fighter, very entertaining. It seems to be a no holds barred kind of thing, right? He always goes forward. He's looking for the finish, right? Either he gets finished or his partner or his opponent gets finished. And I think he's going to be a fan favorite due to that style. Whereas Diego Paez is going to be leaving something, right? He has to show a big impression, right, on the one fans personally, especially to get to get bigger contracts, more money fights, right? Opportunities at titles, bigger names, right? He's going to have to do a fair bit to get the nod over the likes of Sean Climaco personally. So I am going to give Sean Climaco the nod. But it's another one of the fights like the first fight where I just don't know enough about Diego Paez to pick him over Sean Climaco. So fight 9, we'll see Hiroyuki Tetsuka versus Zhang Lepeng in a welterweight MMA bout. So Zhang Lepeng is 5'10" and 34 years old, and he is 3-2 within one championship. His last loss against Maurice Abevi, which has Which has aged quite well since Abevi did beat that Kazakhstani fighter who was coming into it. He was 9-0, and he did it quite comfortably. So the fact he took Abevi to decision's quite a decent result. He also went 3-1 against other competition other than Abevi. So with Hiroyuki Tetsuka, he's 5'6", so he is a bit shorter and he is a bit older, but he is also more of a ground fighter, a submission fighter, which does play into a shorter man's game a lot easier and a lot better than a taller fighter. So I do imagine Tetsuka going for the takedown very often during this fight. So his last fight was a loss, but he did go 2-1 last year, getting 2 submission victories. The year before, he also got a submission victory. That's my whole point. MMA, you don't see as many fights happening, right? But he has went 6-2. He is a decent fighter. I am going to sit here and put Hiroyuki Tetsuka to win. I think Zhang Lepeng is very good, and he is a striker more than anything else. But I just don't see him doing the best when it comes to the groundwork, especially not against Hiroyuki Tetsuka. So I think Hiroyuki is going to take him down or look for the takedowns throughout the fight. And I think when he finally does, he's going to get the win. He's also a fair bit bigger in weight. So he's heavier and shorter. So I am going to give the win to Hiroyuki Tetsuka over Zhang Lepeng. So fight 10, and what is I think is my personal favourite fight on the card, is Kongthoranee Sousa versus Nong-o Hammer. So starting on Nong-o, let's just go over him. He's 5'7" and 38 years old now. He has had a very long career. Within one championship, he has went 11-3, with all 3 losses coming in the back end of his career now, in his last 4 fights. The people he's lost to, Jonathan Haggerty, Nico Carrillo, and Kiamram Nabati, are not bad people to lose to. They are 3 of the best Muay Thai fighters in the world at the moment. With wins over Kalabdam, Philippe Lobo, Saemapetch, and Liam Harrison, right, he is one of the more promising fighters. I say more promising. He's always kept his spot within the division. He's always been a top 5 fighter, right? He's very entertaining. He likes to go forward. He uses his leg kicks well. He's one of the greatest strikers of all time when it comes to Muay Thai. And he used to be a former bantamweight Muay Thai world champion. And he'll be taking on the up-and-comer, right, Kongthoranee Sousa. The reason why I'm more excited for this fight, Kongthoranee joined, right, in 2023, the start of 2023. He won, well, let's just go over it. He's won 10 and lost 2. So in 2 years, he's had 12 fights. That's 1 fight every 2 months. And he's only lost twice, right? His first fight, he lost the decision, right, in one of his first fights. Since then, he went on a massive win streak, and then he lost to Superlek, right? Which again, Superlek is one of the best in the world at the moment. It's not a bad loss. His last fight was against Nakatani Fairtex, where he won. My only take would be he wins a lot of his fights by unanimous decision. He wins a lot by unanimous decision, but he's a very good fighter, right? Very good style. He's very versatile. He's able to use his knees and his kicks very well. He has very big punches. He just doesn't get a lot of finishes. I think it is one of the more close fights of the card, and it's where you want to swing it. But personally, I'm going to swing it in the favour for Kongthoranee. I just think he's younger. I think he's going to be faster. I think he's just going to outwork Nong-o personally all night. So I think he's going to get the victory in the end. Okay, for the last fight, for the headlining fight, we get to see Prajanchai taking on Aliff Barboza. Now, compared to the other fights on this card, this fight's going to be a good one, but I think it's going to be more one-sided than people think. Starting off with Aliff, right? He's a very good fighter, very aggressive fighter, right? He likes to go forwards. I didn't really like what I saw from him during the Dechapan fight. He had his elbows very high. Yeah, he had his guard very high. His body was very open, personally. Right. And I just didn't like it as much. He did have a non-contest with Thong Poon as well. He's fought two very good fighters to start off with, Thong Poon and Dechapan. Right, and he is a very good Thai fighter, going 17-5 outside of one. But here's my problem. I just don't think people outside of Asia are going to be able to compete properly with people within Asia. And I think Prajanchai is one of these fighters who does not get spoke about enough, right? So he's the strawweight Muay Thai and strawweight kickboxing world champion. He's had over 400 professional fights, with 353 of them being wins. Within one, he's 6-1, with his only loss against Joseph Lasiri, also revenged in a knockout in 2023. I don't think he gets enough recognition. I mean, just look at the people he's beat. He's beat Samay twice. He's beat Jonathan DeBella, right? He's beat Joseph Lasiri. He's beat Compet Fairtex, right? He's a very dominant champion. You know, he would kind of, not style-wise, but he kind of reminds me of an Alejandro Pantoja situation. Because he's from a smaller division, he doesn't get spoke about enough, because I don't know if people just don't watch him. But because he's from a small division, people aren't watching him. This person, Prajanchai, this fighter, is one of the best, right, for a long time. He's one of the best. He has devastating strikes. He has super good defense, right? Technically, he's amazing. Yes, he's not big, but he makes up for it in his technique. And I just don't think he gets spoke about enough. He is a super fucking entertaining fighter. He's a super good fighter. And I just don't think El Jefe, Badir Barboza, is going to have enough to keep up with him. I think he's a very good fighter. I'm not going to take anything away from Badir Barboza. I mean, he lives literally, right, like a 30-minute drive away. Like, he lives in the UK from the West Midlands. Like, he is basically from where I'm from. But I have to side with Prajanchai. When you're talking about Muay Thai, these people, right, these fighters, these champions that you see on one, have been doing it since they're a kid, right? From the very, very beginning. They didn't pick it up when they were 12 or when they were 15 because they liked it and then they do it for a bit. They're born into it. They get born, right, go to school, and from like the ages of 4 or 5, they're training, right? Their dads are telling them how to do things. Thai boxing, Muay Thai, is littered all over the place within Malaysia, Myanmar, Thailand, Philippines. It's everywhere. They've been doing it for that long. So it's just my whole. I don't see a way Prajanchai has not faced someone like Badir Barboza. That's my main point with it. So they are my picks for the One Fight Night 28, Prajanchai vs Barboza. I'm going to go into more detail on 3 fights over the next week, and that will be the Prajanchai and versus Barboza. It'll be Kongthoranee versus Nong-o, and it will also be Felipe Lobo versus Saemapetch. They will be the 3 fights I'll concentrate on over the next week, as I think they will be the 3 fights that generate the most income and viewership from one championship.